Infinix have been making smartphones for more than 10 years now, but this is their very first gaming-centric device. It has more than enough power to keep gamers happy and keeps things rather simple for your everyday power user. Not to mention, it is ridiculously well priced. We'll get to pricing a bit later, but this smartphone packs in so much value for money, it's kind of unbelievable. We're talking a flagship-like chipset with a max clock speed of 3 GHz, expandable RAM, expandable storage, a built-in cooling system, dual speakers, a large battery, fast charging, bypass charging, a customizable mini LED light, a quad flash on its back, dual flash on its front, and even a 108 megapixel camera. In addition to its crazy specs and unique design, it comes packed in a box which can be reused. More on that a bit later. And inside its creative box sits a glass screen protector, a silicone case, earphones, which is unheard of these days, an orange charging cable, and a fast 45-watt charging brick. This is Technic, and this is my full review of one of the best value for money smartphones ever, the Infinix GT10 Pro. The Infinix GT10 Pro has already released in the global market, and pricing sits between $240 and $250 depending on your region. That is an insanely good price for everything you get packed inside this beast of a budget range device. It only comes in one variant, that being 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage, but that storage can be expanded thanks to micro SD card support of up to a mad 1 terabyte. As mentioned earlier, the box itself, the box the phone actually comes inside of, can be reused as a music amplifier or even an old school charging dock. You might not really use it very often and it might be a bit gimmicky, but the fact that they actually did this makes the whole unboxing experience just that much more exciting. All you have to do is pull out all the inside parts of the box, flip the main plastic piece around, fit in the L-shaped charging cable, and dock the phone. Once docked, it starts charging much like an old school iPhone charging dock, and can even amplify your speakers, which is actually quite noticeable. Being able to reuse something that most users would just throw out is a very neat little piece of innovation. And speaking of innovation, the design of the GT10 Pro is certainly unique. At first it may strike you as a nothing phone clone, but in all honesty it's very different. It's not transparent, so everything you're seeing is pure design elements, and the back doesn't have LED lights everywhere, but rather just a mini LED strip found on the camera island. Those mini LEDs can be customized, though limited to just a white color, and can only be seen when receiving a call or notification, when charging, when powering the device on, or when jumping into a game. It's a nice little touch, but not the main appeal. The phone comes in just 2 different color options. You can pick it up in the color which I have, known as Cyber Black, or in a lighter color known as Mirage Silver, both of which share the same design elements on their backplates. The plastic side frames match the color of their backs and are squared off, which is a nice touch. It comes in at just 8.1mm thick and weighs just 187 grams, since that backplate is also made from plastic. The display is however made from glass, but its glass protection is unfortunately unknown. There is an always on display, but it's not always on, since it requires you to tap or raise to wake in order to view it, and the optical in-display fingerprint sensor is quite low down but works fairly well. The screen itself is actually a flexible AMOLED display, which means it bends into the bottom of the phone and allows for a tiny chin to match its minimal side bezels, offering a whopping 93% screen to body ratio, which isn't something you typically see on such a budget-friendly device. It's a 6.67-inch flat AMOLED display which sits at a Full HD Plus resolution and packs in 395 pixels per inch. It's a 10-bit display which is capable of displaying over 1 billion colors and a wide DCI-P3 color space. Not to mention it supports HDR10, HDR10 Plus, and Widevine L1 content. It's also one of the few phones that offers a 90Hz refresh rate in addition to the standard 60 and 120Hz options. It's extremely smooth when set to 120Hz, but unfortunately doesn't pack in any LTPO tech, which you wouldn't really expect at this price range anyway. It does however pack in an impressive 360Hz touch sampling rate, and more importantly, crazy 1920Hz PWM dimming, which again isn't something you typically see in such a well-priced device. Another good thing about this device is how bright its screen gets. It goes all the way up to a more than decent 900 nits of peak brightness, which is significantly higher than most devices at this price. When it comes to software, the GT10 Pro makes use of Infinix's XOS 13 software skin, which is based on Android 13 and comes with almost no bloatware. It's packed with interesting features and widgets, but it is simple and easy to use. It offers full Google support out of the box, which allows for Google Assistant and full access to the Google Play Store. But for some reason, there is no option for Google Discover on the left of the home screen, which is replaced by Infinix's own unique splash screen. The software experience is very solid overall, but there are a few things that bug me, such as not being able to drag an icon from your app drawer to the home screen, but rather having to send that app icon to desktop. Not being able to hold an app icon with one finger and flick to a different page with another finger to move that app, and lastly, not being able to remove an app from the home screen by dumping it at the top of the screen, but rather having to hold down and select remove. These are all very minor things, so there's no real need to worry. I'm just very nitpicky like that. That said, there are some incredible things which most user interfaces lack, such as large folders, which allows you to tap directly on an app within a folder to open it without having to first open up the folder itself, and the ability to flick between all of your home screen folders once you do open up a folder, which I honestly can't believe I haven't ever thought of before. There are also plenty different ways to customize your home screen, which you typically can't change on other devices, and there are plenty personalization options which you can adjust within settings. And to keep your phone running is a massive 5000 mAh battery, which can be charged up rather quickly thanks to fast 45-watt wide charging. Not to mention there's also a vapor chamber inside this thing to keep things cool while charging, or even pushing your phone to its maximum limit. Speaking of pushing your phone to its limit, the GT10 Pro packs in a 6nm TSMC made MediaTek Dimensity 8050 chipset, which has an impressive max clock speed of 3 GHz and houses an integrated Mali G77 MC9 GPU, which is more than capable of running your favorite games, as you can see here when testing out different benchmarks. I was actually quite surprised how well it performed in multiple different benchmark tests. It also packs in 8GB of LPDDR4X RAM, which can be doubled thanks to virtual RAM, as well as 256GB of UFS 3.1 storage, which can also be expanded thanks to micro SD card support. Since this is a gaming focused device, there is of course game-based software which Infinix call X Arena, which makes it easy to customize game specific settings before you hop into your favorite games, and once you jump into one of those games you can easily access a game overlay which allows for some quick changes and mini tasks while playing. Not to mention there is also an option for bypass charging, which allows you to use your charger power instead of the actual battery, which is pretty unheard of in a phone at this price range. Speaking of playing games, we were able to reach between 100 and 120 frames per second while playing Real Racing 3 thanks to that beefy chipset and that wonderful 120Hz screen refresh rate. But when playing Call of Duty Mobile, there is no option for ultra frame rate mode, which means the device can't reach 90 FPS like it usually would in this game. Hopefully this will be addressed with a future software update, but for now we're able to reach a rock solid 60 FPS when set to very high graphic quality and max frame rate mode. And when playing a more demanding game such as Genshin Impact, we got an average of around 49 FPS when set to max graphical settings, which doesn't seem incredible but is very impressive for such a budget-friendly device. The GT10 Pro also benefits from Bluetooth 5, NFC, Wi-Fi 6 and dual SIM 5G, though one of those SIMs can be replaced with a micro SD card for expandable storage. There's also a USB 2.0 Type-C port, a Z-axis linear motor with 4D vibration technology for immersive haptic feedback, a 3.5mm headphone jack, which you rarely see these days, as well as dual stereo speakers, one at the bottom and one at the top with support for DTS sound profiling. So the Infinix GT10 Pro packs in some awesome sounding speakers and plays games like a champion. But now it's time to test out those cameras, so let's kickstart things off with selfie camera performance. It has a single punch hole at the top center of its display, which houses a 32 megapixel selfie camera that boasts an aperture of f2.45 and has fixed focus. However, the best thing about this selfie system is that it makes use of a physical dual tone LED flash, which sits in its top right bezel. We'll get to selfie performance with the flash soon, but let's start things off with selfie day pictures. Selfies during the day come out decent, but not perfect. Skin tones are a bit off and edge detection in portrait mode is quite questionable, but otherwise things look alright.
What's up guys, this is Technic recording a 1080p 30fps bokeh video using the selfie cam on the brand new Infinix GT10 Pro. Unfortunately, bokeh video is capped at 1080p and 30fps. The good news is that there is also an option for 1080p 60fps recording when using the selfie camera. And one of the best things about this budget-friendly device is that you can actually record 2K 30fps video when using the selfie cam. And of course you can also use the same crispy clear 2K 30fps selfie video option when recording selfie videos at night. But the best thing about recording selfie videos at night, aside from 2K 30fps video recording, is the fact that it actually has a physical flash supporting the selfie cam.
Taking selfies at night come out okay, slightly better when in night mode, but a lot better when using that physical flash, which is the same case when taking portrait selfies at night. I wasn't expecting too much in terms of selfie performance here, so I'm not really bothered by it. And it's really good to see that there is an option for 2K 30fps selfie video recording, but now it's time to focus on those back sensors. It has a triple camera setup on its back, which consists of two f2.4 aperture, 2 megapixel sensors for macro and depth, with unfortunately no ultra-wide sensor in sight. The good news is that there is an impressive 1 in 1.67 inch sized 108 megapixel main camera sensor, which has an aperture of f1.75 and makes use of phase detection autofocus. And rounding off this camera setup, quite literally, is a quad LED flash in the shape of a ring, which is rather blinding and does a fantastic job. There is a dedicated macro camera here, but unfortunately results don't come out quite as good as I had hoped for. However, the main camera at native 108 megapixels comes out great, aside from some overexposure. It can also be binned down for a clearer looking shot, but things tend to get a tad too oversaturated. And while there is up to 10 times digital zoom, it doesn't exactly do the best job. Photos of me come out surprisingly great, but tonal range is all over the show. However, edge detection is actually quite good when set to portrait mode, thanks to that supporting depth sensor. You can record up to 4K 30fps, which allows for some nice natural depth of field, and there is a bokeh video mode option at 1080p resolution, which offers more than decent edge detection. There's also an option for recording at 60fps, though it's also limited to 1080p, and stability is very questionable. Ultra steady mode slightly fixes stability issues, but in turn lands up being a bit jittery. And while recording in 4K has things come out nice and clear, stability issues are still very apparent. Recording 4K video at night looks more than decent and handles light noise quite well, but things come out a tad grainy when recording a human subject at night. The good news is that video looks fantastic when you enable that quad LED ring flash. Using that flash with photos also makes for some pleasing results, but the flash can unfortunately not be used when set to night mode. And the same can be said with portrait mode, which is a bit of a bummer. Night mode looks average when using the main camera, and while digital zoom isn't the best at night, at least we can still make out what's going on here even at 10 times zoom. The Infinix GT10 Pro is far from being a competitive camera smartphone, but still offers plenty camera features which might be worth your while. That said, you shouldn't be purchasing this phone for its camera alone, but for everything else which makes it so special, such as its unique design, fantastic performance, expandable storage, great speakers, large battery, fast charging, and most importantly, unbeatable price tag. Let me know your thoughts on one of the best value for money smartphones that 2023 has to offer. This is Technic, and I'll catch you in the next one.